Hi bookworms, this is your host Rachel and you're watching The Bonafide Bookworm, a YouTube channel dedicated to helping others learn to read by doing a read along. So as you noticed, I did not post on Thursday. My apologies. I am a one-woman show. Sometimes things just don't work out the way expected for the day, and it is what it is. So hopefully next week I will be on track and get us 2 videos out next week. Again, my apologies. So I realized I hadn't done a review in a while, so I did want to review a book for you all really quick. It's called Saving Sadie, and it's by Joel Dower with Elizabeth Ridley. So this book, I'm always kind of afraid to read books like this because I'm afraid it's going to be like Where the Yellow Fern Grows or something like that, or Old Yeller. And if you are not familiar with American culture, basically the dogs die horribly, or like Fox and the Hound, a Disney movie, someone dies and it's just awful. So I don't really like to read things like this about animals, because to me animals are kind of like children. They're just really innocent, and I just don't like, I know it happens, that they get hurt in the world, but I just don't really want to put more of that out in the world by reading about things like that. So I was very hesitant to pick this book up. So one spoiler, I mean, this book is rather old, so Sadie has passed because it's been a long time since this book has been out. So she'd have to be like ancient, you know. I don't think she would be alive at this point. So that kind of told, you know, I thought to myself, you know, if I can just tell myself, you know, this is an old book, so I know this dog has definitely passed. Whatever happens in this book, whether she passes in this book and it talks about that, or if she lives a long life and then passes, I know at this point this book is so old that she has passed no matter what. So I thought, I just won't get too attached to the dog, is what I told myself. Silly thing to say, because you do get attached to the dog, obviously. You get attached to Joel, the woman who helps her, and it's really an inspiring book. It's an inspiring book, I would say. And it's one of those books where you think that you're just going to do this one thing. You're just going to make this one choice. You go this route and you turn left instead of right. Well, that's kind of what happened for Joel. She made a decision one day to help a dog, and it changed her life. It really did. So I highly recommend this book. It's just a quick, short read, very sweet. It did make me cry for all of the good reasons. So Saving Sadie, Joel Dower with Elizabeth Ridley. All right, so let's move on and let's get to Touching the Void by Joe Simpson. And I believe we stopped about midway on page 46. Let's see. Basically, Joe wanted to try one route and Simon wanted to try another route. So Joe decides to go the route he wants to go. Simon, instead of the route Simon went, he thought Simon's route was too dangerous. So Joe is attempting to cross this one piece of the mountain a different route than what Joe did. I mean, Simon did. All right. I wasted valuable time trying to cross the rock band. It was tilted like a steep roof, but unlike the rock and the ramp, it was black and compact with only a few small holes, mostly hidden beneath the snow. I knew it wasn't difficult, but I was standing on an open face with a drop of nearly 4,000 feet below me and felt very unnerved by the exposure. There was also a long gap of unprotected rope between me and Simon, who was belaying me from our resting place. His only anchor was his axes buried in the snow, and I knew all too well how useless these would be if I made a mistake. My left foot slipped and the crampon point skittered on the rock. I hated this sort of delicate balance climbing, but I was committed to it now. Sorry, I lost my place. No going back. As I balanced on two small edges of rock, front points teetering on the verge of slipping, my legs began to tremble, and I shouted a warning to Simon. I could hear the fear in my voice and cursed myself for letting Simon know it. I tried moving up again, but my nerve failed me, and I couldn't complete the move. I knew it would take just a couple of moves to reach the easier ground, and tried convincing myself that if this wasn't so terrifyingly exposed, I would walk up it, hands in pockets, but I couldn't shake off the fear. I was gripped. Gradually, I calmed down and carefully thought out the few moves I needed to make. When I tried again, I was surprised at how easy it seemed. I was above the difficulty and climbing quickly up easy ground before I realized it. The belay was little better than Simon's, and I warned him of this before he started after me. The sudden fright still had me breathing hard, and it annoyed me to see Simon climb easily over the difficulties and know that I had lost control and let fear get the better of me. God, I was gripped stupid on that, I said. I noticed. Which gully should we go for? I had looked for a likely one, but found it impossible to see, when close up to them, whether they closed off or not. I don't know, that one is the widest. I'll have a look at that. Simon entered the gully and immediately began floundering in deep powder. I'm just I do that a lot, apparently. Just make up words, because I think I know how the sentence is going to end or what word they're going to use, and so I just try to use that word, and I am wrong. So, okay. I don't know, that one's harder. Okay. Simon entered the gully and immediately began floundering in deep powder. The sides of the flutings rose up 15 feet on either side of him. There was no chance of changing line. Spindrift avalanches poured down onto his struggling figure so that sometimes he disappeared from sight. The light was going rapidly, and I noticed that it had begun to snow, the spindrift getting heavier. I was directly beneath Simon, and after sitting still for 2 hours, I was chilled to the bone. Simon was excavating huge quantities of snow down onto me, and I could do nothing to avoid it. I switched my head torch on and was surprised to see that it was 8 o'clock. 4 hours to climb 300 feet. I seriously doubted whether we would be able to get up these flutings. At last, a distant muffled shout from the snow-filled clouds told me to follow on. I was dangerously cold despite having put on my polar jacket and windproof. We would have to bivouac somewhere on these horrendous slopes because sitting still for such a long time while belaying was out of the question. I couldn't believe what Simon had done to climb that rope length up the gully. He had dug a trench 4 feet deep by 4 wide all the way up it. His exhausting search for more solid snow yielding a weak layer of crusted ice, which barely held his weight. Most of this had been broken away as he had climbed, so that I had great difficulty following his lead. It had taken him 3 hours to climb, and when I reached him, I could see that it had tired him out. I felt very tired too and cold, and it was important we bivouacked soon. I can't believe the snow. Bloody terrifying. I thought I was falling off the way up. We have to bivvy. I was freezing down there. Yeah, but not here. The fluting has got too small. Okay, you may as well lead up again. I knew it would be easier and avoid rope tangles, but I regretted not being able to keep moving. 2 freezing, interminable hours later, I joined Simon 100 feet higher up. He was belayed in a large hole he had dug into the base of the gully. I've found some ice. Good enough for an ice screw? Well, it's better than nothing. If you get in here, we can enlarge this sideways. I squeezed in beside him, fully expecting the floor of the cave to collapse down the gully at any moment. We began digging into the sides of the fluting, slowly enlarging the cave into a long rectangular snow hole set across the gully, with the entrance partially filled up by our excavations. By 11 o'clock, we had settled into our sleeping bags, eaten the last freeze-dried meal, and were savoring a last hot drink of the day. 300 feet to go. I just hope it isn't worse than what we've just done. At least the storm has stopped, but it's damn cold. I think my little finger is frostbitten. It's white down to the hand. It must have been close to -20 when we had been exposed to the spindrift in the gullies, and the wind had brought the wind chill temperature down nearer to -40. We were lucky to have found a place for a snow hole. I hoped we would have clear, sunny weather tomorrow. And we're going to stop right there at the top of page 49. And we'll pick back up, hopefully on the correct day, at the correct time. And I will be on my recording to make that happen. So until then, I hope y'all have a great day or evening or week, depending on when you watch this. And I will see you all later.